Are we good? Yep, okay. Welcome to, the April board meeting for Musket, or for. Okay. Hopefully I'll be my own, word tonight. Dr. Fernandez.
Yes, please, forgive my portrayal or language. Okay. The Connecticut Hideout is Fijian people. We respectfully acknowledge them as the original inhabitants of Southeast Alaska. Our regional hospital is located on the homelands of the Papuan. We are able to provide services in your ancestral homeland and be part of this community.
Thank you. You done?
Dr. Hernandez. Amy Monk. Here. Chris Letterman. Dr. Casey.
Present.
Max Rhodes. Lisa Peterson. I'm here. Al Wagner.
Present.
Dr. Master.
Here.
Deb Johnston. Here. And we have Jody Cotton online.
I believe we are expecting Max.
Well, he said he'd be on virtual. And there he is.
Okay. Welcome, Max. I would now entertain a motion to approve the agenda as written unless there are any amendments.
Look to approve the agenda as written. Second.
Are there any objections to that? The agenda is approved. Do we have any public participation tonight? I don't see any online. I don't see anyone in the room. Welcome, Maureen Hall, one of our assembly members who is sitting in. Thank you for coming. I would now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Thank you, Don. All right. Old business, the hospital capacity update, Ms. McDowell.
Madam Chair, for a hospital update, for March, CCU had 62 patient days, med surg 444, PICU 262, OB 54, nursing 48. The emergency department saw 859 treatments last month. We are currently holding 3 patients for behavioral health transfers. We are holding 1 for subacute rehab, 1 for long-term care, and 1 for assisted living. I'd also like to inform the board that we did go on code triage again this morning. The hospital is full. So we re-evaluated that with the house supervisor and Chad, who's administrator on call. And decided to extend that window until tomorrow's discharge planning at 8:45 and determine if we can come off at that time. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are board members familiar with code triage and what triggers it?
Okay, we did talk about this last time, but it was
I don't know that Dr. T was available, if you would find.
Sure. So we developed code triage. It's been work in progress over several years and finally got it into policy to identify, a kind of a collapse plan of what do we do if the hospital's full and we have outlying communities trying to transfer the gas. And so there's multiple triggers. It's if there's 2 or more holding in the ER for longer than 2 hours. There's if all the beds are full on CCU, med surg, and OB, because we will frequently admit clean non-OB patients to OB if there's space in there. And so we developed a code triage. So when we got to that capacity, we thought we were full and had no room to admit and take external transfers, that we would go on code triage. And that starts a cascade of events where the hospitals start aware, that staff's aware, and then everybody tries to discharge their patients, quicker, that they're ready. But maybe some of them, they may say, well, we'll give them another 24 hours, but they could go home now. So that triggers that. And then we also look at any opportunity for people who are waiting for placement at Wildflower Court to see if there's a way that we can send them over there sooner, even if paperwork's not complete. And then also looking at elective surgeries that will result in an admission. And that will, usually those get canceled if we're in this process.
Thank you for that. And then here, we're just.
So, why don't you join us at the table?
Oh, I think there's a spot there.
Okay, lots of them.
Go ahead.
That's,
Okay,
if anybody has questions.
All our court. Let's go.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So for March, our average daily census was around 48.84, and our occupancy rate was 77%. And I will say, as of about an hour ago, our census today is 55, so next month we should see a climb in those numbers, and we have one upcoming admission, so we're getting back up there again.
Any questions for Ms. Scott? Right, well, health and hospice, Mr. Henry.
Good evening. We continue to work on the projects that I mentioned last month, focusing on staff education support, manager development, great success there with our manager, working on community engagement, process improvement, as well as our billing processes. Our census, the average census remains relatively steady. However, we did see a positive uptick in referrals and admissions for both home health and hospice, with hospice being the highest number of referrals and tied for admissions one other time in the last year. So although while we may see more admissions and more referrals on the hospice side, the downside is that those patients don't live very long, and so the census doesn't appear to grow. But we are seeing more conversation in the community. Families are very appreciative of the work that we're doing, and staff are really engaged.
Any questions? New business, meeting found. Up in hospice, you've got an action item? Any advisory committee?
I do.
So you'll see this through the chair. You'll remember we had to do the same thing when Heather Richter was in that position. So this needs to be brought in front of the board to officially appoint Aaron as the home health and hospice administrator. He has extended through March of next year, so there'll be a long run. That's correct, right? I was like, it seemed too good to be true. And so this is an action item to have the board appoint him as the administrator.
Do we have a motion from the board?
I move the board of directors at Bartlett Hospital approve the appointment of Aaron Angelis as the administrator of Bartlett Home Health and Hospice Services.
Thank you.
And this is just informational that the physician advisory committee has changed for home health and hospice with the folks filling those roles listed below, with Aaron as administrator, Dr. Dunn as the physician, Heather Richter as the registered nurse. The member of the public is Jen Carson, and then our patient services representative is Mandy Millar.
Any questions regarding to that? The, so question, advisory committee?
Have you disposed of motions?
We've not. Were there any objections to appointing? Thank you for that. Okay. This is me. So we've talked about this a couple of times. This is a straw man for the board. This will be the board's first A3. And we started talking about this, I think clear back when we had the strategic retreat. This, when was it? Gosh, the fall. Maybe it was January.
It's governance in December, it's in its
Okay.
first signature.
Got it. It's been a while. A long time getting here. And that was my fault. But this, will be the first time that the board participates in the A3 process. And, one of the problems that we're trying to address is, the broader engagement with the community to include our board members without, hopefully, creating a situation where we, have a public meeting. So I've, you can read if you haven't already read the problem statement, it's, community, the medical staff, the hospital staff and the community play a significant role in the success of Bartlett Hospital. There are a lot of gaps in in our engagement with the community. I think one of the, somebody brought up, this is just a random one, before COVID, Bartlett used to participate in the parade, the 4th of July parade. So I know that's something that's, I think, on that staff has talked about as well. But this would be an opportunity for the board to engage if you're around on 4th of July to walk through the parade. So these are the types of things that we've talked about. The scope is what we're trying to address is activities that are open to the public, including our hospital community as well as the broader public, in the form of, could be Rotary, the clubs around town speaking for about what's going on at the hospital for the Rotary and the Chamber. It also could be public activities, holiday activities, like I just mentioned. What's not included is any events that are not open to the public. Such as any kind of closed meetings. This ties with our community engagement A3 that's already open. We're just sliding into that one. The board governance committee in our conversation has talked about that, and that's where we're bringing forward this A3. Our level of engagement declined with the onset of COVID, and we have had lots of barriers to expanding this board's engagement with the community, and we'd like to change that, to turn that around. And as it mentions below, there was a lot of turnover. It's hard to engage and initiate engagement activities with the amount of turnover that we've had. Some of it board, a lot of it was CEO and senior leadership. Our other staff, our directors. It's hard to sustain an engagement program. And we really don't have as far as the board goes, we really don't at this point have documented expectations for our board members' engagement with the community. And that's one of the things that we're trying to resolve with this A3. The expectation is not to put an undue burden on the board, just for the board to consider which activities that you're available for and a willingness to participate in engagement activities. It doesn't always necessarily mean that you that you are potentially leaving your home or taking up a whole day. It might be an ask to reach out to someone either through some form of communication, whether it's a response to a notice from let's just say an assembly action, or it could also mean to participate, as I mentioned, in hospital activities, which I am going to be bringing up here shortly. But that's really what the purpose of this is, to identify and formulate a plan for ourselves. This is going to go forward to the, we'll start with the governance committee to see where we want to go from here, but it will also, I'm not sure where we want to go with it next. We probably won't go to the finance committee meeting unless we're asking them to contribute something, but which is unlikely to happen. But anyway, as we look at the KU performance indicators, we'll be able to measure it by the participation, the percent participation of the board members. We are, like I said, there's no expectation that 100% participate in every activity that's planned. And any suggestions for improvement, provide that acting on suggestions for improvement by the community members, and creating a board attendance dashboard. These are, as I said, these are suggestions. This is something that we would like the rest of the board to participate in, and actually not only participate in, but provide feedback as to whether this is too much, too little, or the right actions to be taken. So follow-up actions to this recommendation for the A3 is this A3 draft will go to the governance committee for further editing and suggestions when the governance committee feels confident that they have the adequate document or the appropriate document. It will be forwarded onto the full board for approval, and then we'll start tracking our community events this year. So any questions? And hopefully we'll have a presentation somewhere later in the year or next year to talk about how well we did. To demonstrate the attendance tracking dashboard, if that's what we end up doing, all of them. So there's no action item to be taken today, but this is a presentation to you with the understanding that it's going to go to the governance committee for action.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you have a date in mind that you want that to be wrapped up?
Well,
Back to the board?
from the governance committee, well, hopefully we will spend some quality time at the next governance committee meeting when it's scheduled. If the opportunity is available, it'd be great to tie it up and bring it to the next board meeting after that, but there's no hard and fast date. Ideally, it'd be nice, like before the 4th of July. So we would have the May and possibly the June board meetings. That doesn't mean that we won't be asking board members to participate. If there is a 4th of July parade, participation of the hospital to participate. There will be other things. One that's coming up, but in my report, I'll be asking for. Okay. Dr. Totten.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It's been a busy stretch, as Kim has relayed. Previously, the ED remodel has started, the cruise ships have started coming, and the hospital's been pretty busy between the fire and the co-triage events. We're working with administration for OR scheduling to try and decrease. The ORs have been very busy also, and so working to streamline that and decrease the number of after hours cases to limit the load on staff and providers. And otherwise, business as usual. I also want to thank Joe for reviewing all the physician engagement survey results and with members of the board, with myself, and reviewing those with the medical staff in detail. Thank you. That's all I have.
Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Patton. We'll hear from you again a little later.
Yes, I think it's,
Committee meeting update. The joint conference meeting. We had some questions. Right. I hope you all had the opportunity to read the minutes. We had a good conversation with folks. The bulk of it was that we did go into executive session to discuss a few things. Which geez, I apologize. I should have read these a little bit more closely. It's been a while. You didn't think how much money, did you? I didn't think so. So anyway, basically we will meet again. We spent a fair amount of time, I think, Tony, talking about
executive,
pardon?
it's all executive session,
Oh, that's true. Sorry,
business as usual.
business is equal. 3 times a year,
For 3 times.
3 times.
Minutes from the executive session available to board members.
We don't take minutes in the.
So
executive
if
session.
you don't attend. you have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
We, in any of our meetings that go into. So, okay, any questions about, Dr. Totten, do you have any comments about the meeting? I didn't, we really did, the bulk of our non-executive session conversation related to our meeting frequency, but did you have any comments?
I do want to thank the members of the board that were present and those of administration for taking the time to have this talking time with the medical executive committee for the medical staff. It was really valuable to have you all there. And I really appreciate that you taking the time out of your lives to make that happen. Thank you.
Okay. Planning Committee, Dr. Esther.
The minutes are in the packet and basically getting everything ready for the ED remodels, big deal, signage and things like that. Kim knows more about that than anybody, and it seems to be going well. No news is good news. And then we pushed the other big project is the behavioral health remodel, especially for infusion therapy, but I think we're going to talk about that perhaps as I have them right. Okay, and those are the only two big things in planning. Unless anybody has any questions.
Dr. Esther. Okay. The Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. Mertz.
Thank you, Deb. I'm sorry I'm not able to be there with you. I'm in Seattle right now. I had some business meetings in here yesterday and today in Seattle. So the minutes, of course, are in the packet for you to review. Just a few things I want to touch on. First and probably foremost is that included in the packet, starting on page 12, which includes the monthly financials that we always include, are the March financials. So this is the first time since I've been on the board, and I think Deb, you said as well, the Finance Committee, since you've been on the board, that we've received our the packet for the most recent month. It's been a delay of a month plus into the next month. So we normally would have received February at our April meeting. And that's been a lot of hard work that Joe really started when he was CFO, and Angela has continued to leverage. She has a very good controller. Andrew is very capable. And, these results are important because, being able to monitor how the hospital's doing on a timely basis and, the regular reporting is, critical to, both budget compliance and also seeing how we're doing year over year. So, I'm very, I had nothing to do with it, but I'm very happy that I happen to be sitting here while they're doing this for us. So I just we gave them a kudos at the Finance Committee meeting. I just wanted to recognize Angela and her staff tonight too for all the hard work that they've done to this point. So thank you for that. There is one area, of course, one area I do want to highlight, and I think it's important for the whole board to hear that weren't at the Finance Committee, that collections are an area that are getting close focus from management. Our AR has grown some and is kind of at a higher level than our metrics, our key indexes that we're monitoring than what we'd like to see. And Angela and her staff are working on that and have taken several proactive steps to kind of catch that up. There's been a lot of reasons for that. Probably the chief cause is the fact that we're doing more. The growth in our clinic practices and some of the other things we have done are just, they create that kind of growth creates stress, and it's not bad stress, but it's just something that you have to work through, and they're working on that. But our AR is an area of close focus by the committee and by management. They've also finished bringing hospice and home health billing in-house as of the end of March. That's been a focus since last fall. The contractor who was doing this for us was not performing. And so Angela made the decision to bring that in-house, which I completely support. I think that's a good move, but that's part of the stress. So that's ultimately a good thing. It'll ensure that we're able to bill everything effectively and timely. And then the last thing is facility plan on page 67. I want Joe to speak to this briefly, but there is a motion I'm hoping one of my fellow committee members can make for us after Joe does a kind of a brief intro on page 67. Joe?
Well, on page 67, it'll be documents pertaining to the remodel of the Aurora building. So this is something we've discussed over several meetings with the planning last. With the goal being that we, through the master facility plan that we did, converting the first floor of the Aurora building to the infusion center. With the second floor being a clinic space and the third floor being the new behavioral health outpatient psychiatric facility that we have on the third floor. With this, there will be some slight tweaks as we get into design. As being that we're able to start the design and cost estimating process, so we can understand whether significant need is required. So this will be the initial request. Design process. That, I guess, that was one of the questions. I think we talked about this. Excuse me. Sometimes I feel like I talk about this project all the time. Whether I talk with anyone, I'm open to questions or comments.
I think that, Joe has spent a lot of time, and a couple of other folks as well, meeting with the staff, meeting with the, city leadership, meeting with the stakeholders and funders of the, so I think it's well known throughout the community. That this is an action that we're about to initiate. So I appreciate the work that that Joe and his staff have done to pave the way for this to happen as the first phase of our facilities master plan, master facility plan.
And maybe if I could just add to what Joe and Deb have said, is that the motion at the bottom of page 67 of the packet is for planning money at this point. So we're talking about design, cost estimation, that kind of thing. So no activity, construction activity for under this motion or for right now, but just, getting the design estimates done. So with that, I'd ask unless there's more questions, I'd ask for a motion for that, or I'm sorry, not a motion, but approval of the motion from the Finance Committee.
Are there any objections to this motion? Seeing none, the motion is approved. Thank you very much. It's been a lot of hard work on the planning committee side, on the finance committee side, as well as the mountain of work that that staff, Joe and his staff have put forward to make this happen. I'm very excited to get started on our master facility. Okay. Next is the CEO compensation ad hoc committee meeting. I want to just let everybody know the reason that this is an ad hoc committee, that this is was noticed, was Deb's comment in the board meeting that we were appointing an ad hoc committee, which is mentioned in our bylaws, which triggered the requirement for us to notice the meeting, send out a notice through CBJ. Normally, what we normally do is charge some subset of the senior leadership and the board to attack an issue, to bring back more information and present it to the appropriate committee. So that's why those of you who received the notice and were confused about whether they should attend, that's why you received that notice. I did spend some time on a significant amount of time on the phone with the city attorney to make sure that we were on the up and up and not violating anything in our bylaws or our charter. So that being said, the committee met and went into executive session. We did have conversation about the concept of a change to, or actually putting forth a process for to follow for CEO compensation. Something that we have not had in the past. For every contract that I was aware of, it was a little bit different. Some contracts were just a flat fee with an annual escalator. Some contracts did have a bonus option, but the criteria for the bonus were opaque, and we struggled to. They were not particularly measurable, so it wasn't as clear to the board the success of the each CEO. So there has been no structure. What has been brought forward is to provide structure to the CEO and potentially senior leadership compensation that provides for performance-based compensation going forward that has measurable goals that are tied to potential that would be tied to our strategic goals. So that's really what we're charged with, is to take a look at that conversation. We had a good conversation about it. The folks in the room, the board members in the room, charged Joe with collecting additional information for us. We'll meet one more time before it goes forward to first to the governance committee, and then potentially toward the potentially to the finance committee. There is no I'm sorry, there is no urgency to this other than when it comes time to, at this point, we have plenty of time. Any questions?
And the next step is then we'll get a report for the information that comes from Joe and then make changes potentially thereafter.
Whatever is decided, and it could be any, I mean, I've suggested a couple of things that might be options, but that doesn't mean that that's the final conversation about it. So whenever something will come to the governance committee first, and it will go to the full board. Any other questions? Okay. Mr. Wong.
Madam Chair. So I want to start my report with just acknowledging the fire that took place in our ORs on April 16th. I want to thank the staff and their hard work in my absence. They were able to, make sure that staff and patients were protected and did a great job of getting remediation done and getting the ORs back open way faster than I anticipated, to probably be totally honest. I was having nightmares about this when I first heard about it. So I just want to say my staff did a great job and acknowledge their hard work. Still did a great job. I think it also brings some opportunities. We'll use this to learn from and move forward. We've made some partnerships with CCFNR. I think we improved on what we did. So overall, it's a step back, but I think it's also going to be 2 steps forward. So thank you. So in the report, I go over kind of the high level of the projects. The big one we touched base on is the ER project. The second one that we're kind of anticipating is rural health transformation funds. The state has updated their sites. We're anticipating some responses to our letter of intent by mid-month with an application process to follow. And then hopefully, I know they state in their site that they're gonna open applications for see later in the summer, which is kind of disappointing. I feel like that should be a June process, but we're gonna watch that. And as those come forward, if we have any applications that move to the next step, we might have to do an ad hoc planning so we can move forward as expeditiously as possible. Time is of the essence of this project. As everyone remembers, you basically have 2 federal fiscal years to spend the funds. So year one's almost done. It'll be done in September, and then we have 12 months after that. So depending on what comes forward, we might have to move relatively rapidly on this project. So step on those ones. I also had a good call with Sarah Bell from Sullivan's office yesterday. Rural demonstration. They have put their bill together. They think they have co-sponsors, and they're going to try and move that forward. So that's just informational at this point until it actually gets passed. I'm not going to worry about it. It's outside my control, but I keep, helping them and asking about it. So that's where that stands. Next subject is 340B. Our hospital is currently participates in the 340B drug pricing program, where we receive discounted prices for certain pharmaceuticals in the outpatient setting. This has been discussed at the assembly at this point. We will be putting together a memo and sending it just to bring information to them. I will also be preparing our process and our plans internally, how we move that 340B program forward internally. Some of the pieces that we need to get in place that we have now, with primary care being one of those pieces. So I'll be submitting a document to the board for education next month and what the next steps would be as we move into the more 340B program. There's a lot of opportunity around contract pharmacies, which we've had some issues in the past. But I want to make sure the board's informed, put some of those plans for you guys. So that's just a heads up. I'll also share the memo with the board, obviously, when it goes out at the same time.
Trying to get into commercial pharmacy development, understand?
It's an opportunity we need to explore. So, and I'll go over, I'm going to do a whole spiel on 340B. So I'll give you a full document and kind of go over the step-by-step process on how certain hospitals can do it. And then we can talk about what part really wants. There's a whole host of options in front of us. The next subject is Senate Bill 283. So this is something I've talked about last month. This is mandatory staffing ratios in the hospital. So this would basically dictate how we staff our nursing floors through this process and put together staffing committees, additional bureaucracy, there'd be fines associated with it. So the Hospital Association for Alaska is kind of against this bill. It's my understanding in our meeting today, almost every hospital has submitted a letter of opposition to the legislature. And so I will be submitting my letter as well. And so I will share that with this board as well. In my take, as you mandate additional nurses on floors, when we're already kind of in a shortage area, we have 2 avenues, which is to add more nurses, which drives up costs. It's care for the same number of patients. Or we reduce the quantity of beds we actually have open, reduce access to care.
That number again, Senate Bill
283. So just making everyone aware of this process. It's been out there. It's kind of is introduced late into the process. And so I think it's 2 weeks old at this point. But the negative consequences to Bartlett could be mitigated with some of our processes. Our staffing ratios are strong. Where it really would hurt us is they start employing these to Providence and regional, and they reduce the number of beds they have. It's going to reduce our access to send people out of town. So it's the hospital industry as a whole. And I can answer questions if anyone has anything specific. I'd be happy to.
Do you know who introduced this? Who in the Senate?
I would have to pull that information. Some more cheerful information. I want to thank all those that participated in that board education survey. So this will be our roadmap as we start scheduling additional education sessions. And so what I've discussed with Deb is we move into the future. My plan is to rotating every other month, we'll have an A3 presentation like we did this month. And the following month, I'll bring back a 15 to 20 minute educational snippet. And then we'll just go back and forth with those 2 different processes, trying to expand the gaps It's kind of been the industry standard when they've gone to continuous education for board members. So we'll try to adopt something like that. It takes us a little time to spend some of these education sessions up, so I'm hopeful we'll have something for May, if not for June for sure. But I want to thank everyone that participated, and we'll try to focus on these gap assessment, kind of where we need to give additional education. And then we'll probably come back with a survey every year to 2 years. And the last thing I want to talk about is, as part of the HR summary report, is hospital week is coming up, week of May 11th. I would encourage, we'll put information out to the board. Encourage you all to participate where you can. We're doing downtown signups. Anyone wants, we'll get some names after this. It is open. I've got some suggestions on the process, and I appreciate those too. So I think it's a good time to come celebrate with staff for all the good work that they do.
Hey, love you, warm water. There are other opportunities besides the duck tank to participate for those of you that
There is a,
don't involve getting wet.
they're not near as fun. So with that, I guess if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to address them at this point.
Hey, Deb,
Yes.
I got a couple of questions for Joe on I want to start with the 340B. You know, the hospital has a long history with 340B, and we've had a kind of a go slow approach on 340B. And Joe, did you have any knowledge or discussions with the assembly about this coming up as a possible area for additional revenue for the city?
I've had discussions with city management, and in none of those discussions would there be additional revenue for the city. The 340B is intended to, support rural hospitals, critical access hospitals, sole community hospitals, to add additional services and support, financial assistance and those kind of things.
Yeah, so the point is, I guess that
I guess
any
with what I've
benefit
done-
from the program has got to stay with the hospital. Is that correct?
Yes, we did discuss, if we did get to kind of a retail pharmacy or specialty pharmacy there, we could do some plan designs. They could be a secondary beneficiary to some of the stuff that we would benefit from. So I did discuss that with them at some point.
Okay. The other question I had is on the Medicaid or Medicare demonstration program. You said that they had co-sponsors. I think Hal might have asked this too. I couldn't quite hear, but is there anything concrete there, or is it just still they're kind of working on it?
My understanding is what I was told was they have always had Republican support, and now they have Democratic support. With Grassley is going to come back and support the bill. He was leave of absence for surgical issues, I guess. So Grassley was the original senator that pushed this forward, if you remember. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess is there a kind of an expected timeline at this point, or is it still premature?
The email said they'd introduce it next week.
Yeah, okay.
So
Thank you.
I told her, give me a follow-up when it's actually introduced.
Any questions for Ryan?
Going back to the finance committee, the finance and audit committee report. How was Angela mentioned that she was, building that process out, working with staff. How's that going?
I think it's going very well, actually. So the team's come together and the process mapped it all out. To be fair, it's a relatively complex process with multiple departments, multiple points of contact. And so she's done a good job looking through the process, understanding where our weaknesses is. So we've started to address those. But with AR, like if we're fixing a process and a claim today, it impacts, 30, 60 days down the road. So it is a slow changed process.
Was it really just all the change that sort of impacted and caused that to ramp up? Or was there something else systemic?
My understanding is mostly just the change. I mean, if you're talking about systemic issues, prior authorizations has been a systemic issue, I think, that's affected most healthcare providers. That's an ongoing issue for us. That's something we're going to be fighting insurance companies all the time. So, but that's not something that we can fix internally. We have processes in place to hopefully have those in place before services provided. But Matt's in it pretty head on, like just the quantity and the complexity of the processes. And we've added, multiple business lines to our billing.
Putting in areas that you haven't.
Any other questions for? Ms. Hughes Candies is not here tonight. Ms. Hall, do you want to tell us anything about what's going on at the assembly? Besides budgets?
Yeah, hair on fire. Yeah, let's see, Wednesday, I'm sorry, I wasn't really prepared for this, but yeah,
There's no
meeting
expectation.
every single Wednesday, mulling over all the different layers of our budget and got some big decisions on Eagle Crest this Wednesday, anyway. Yeah, and I'm happy to sit in when Alicia's not available or even when she is, just to kind of get a better understanding, because you're right, we need more engagement, cross engagement, so happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Deb,
Yeah,
I just want to say, Maureen, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate your involvement and your participation tonight. Thank you.
And I'll just, in defense of my fellow assembly members, I'm retired, they aren't. And this is, it really is a lot, so.
Well, no defense necessary, but we like having you anyway.
we really appreciate you coming in. Thanks.
And it feels like family, I worked at hospice and home care casual for a while. I made a brief appearance up at Bartlett and a long-time nurse for Dr. Tom McCabe and then Joy Nyhart and school nurse. So anyway, it's good to be part of this community. Super important. Living in Juneau, having a strong healthcare system, keeping our old folks here. Everyone here for what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have much to report other than I'm gonna, again, remind folks that you have a great opportunity coming up with Hospital Week. There are lots of activities. There's a kickoff on Monday morning at 6:45 a.m. where management, the board, whomever can wave signs and greet folks as they come into work. But for those of you who are not at 6:45 a.m. on Monday morning, there's plenty of other opportunities. There are opportunities to serve lunch, to round. Anita has and the dunk tank, which I have signed up for. So I challenge somebody else to sign up, please. Anita has a schedule that she can fit you all, any or all of you in. So I would encourage you to participate in that. It's starting Monday, the 11th. So it's coming right up. Any questions for me? All right, I think I could go calendar. Okay. Yes,
Are we going to have a planning meeting? No.
think we might have to just take that off, make it ad hoc in hopes that our HTP comes forward. That makes sense. Rural health transformation.
Okay.
That'd be the subject that I was hoping to discuss.
Okay. And other than that, everything else is on Tuesday,
Yeah.
because I'll be available, but by phone only. Okay.
So are you talking about the planning committee on May first? Okay, so that may not happen.
I would suggest that we take it off.
Take it off until we have it. Okay, perfect.
Sure.
I think it's time again to think about scheduling another governance. And so I'd ask the other committee members and ask you. Just time we could find it. So.
Suggest a date 11.
It is a busy week. It will be hard for senior leadership to participate with all the activities that are going on
Yeah,
during hospital week.
well, and I was looking at like Monday or Tuesday because there's a high likelihood that I'm out of town the rest of that week, and then I'm out of town from the 18th forward. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
From
what
the 5th through the
you
8th.
mentioned.
May's terrible.
I was gonna suggest the 14th before lunch, so we could meet and then I'll get lunch. At lunch.
So we've had lunch.
The 14th is like, we're giving, like, or, asking for her to do that, so we could serve it, so if we could meet before, and then be like, oh, here we are, we're gonna like serve lunch.
I would be fine with that.
I can't do the 11th. On the 14th?
14th or 15th.
Well, it sounds like we can't find the date. We could do it. Is there any way you could connect? Don't find.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
So it sounds like we are quite ready to make that decision. Anita can forward. Unless you guys are ready to make a decision on a date. Dr. Hernandez, you're not available on Monday, is that correct? Okay.
Do we, if we can get a Teams meeting set up, I think the 4th would work. I would just have to work a schedule.
Yeah, that is.
So it sounds like the 14th could work though. We get Chris tied in telephonically. That work for you? I know that week is inconvenient, but. it sounds like that would be-
It should work for me. Usually Thursday is pretty.
Volunteer.
10 o'clock, is that?
It sounds like we have a lot to discuss then, right?
Yeah.
So.
It's start the lunch at 11.
Start.
9:30.
Yeah, 9:30.
Yeah, I only have a meeting with Dr. King from our quarterly meeting back in, we could probably bump that one, right? We move it to different, sorry.
Pretty on the 14th. And quality and compliance, does that remain is that good for the, on the? And Max, it sounded like at the finance committee, we were still good, okay, sounds good. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the calendar as amended with the addition of the governance committee meeting.
Sure, make that motion.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any objections? Seeing none. The calendar is approved. Okay. Any board comments or questions? Seeing none, we will move into executive session. I could have. Motion, please.
Chair, I would move that we move, that the Board of Directors of Bartlett Regional Hospital discuss an executive session to discuss several matters, including those which by law, municipal charter, or ordinance are required to be confidential, or involve consideration of records that are not subject to public disclosure, specifically the credentialing report, staff meeting minutes, patient safety dashboard, and legal updates. And I would ask that you be given the discretion to allow their staff who think should be present.
Second name.
Thank you. Thank you. I would ask that senior leadership remain. Really great. Yeah, absolutely. We're now in executive session, and before we start our discussions, let's come back at about 10 after.
I think it's actually fits into,
Okay, I'd like to move that we accept the credentialing report as presented.
We do.
Okay.
And any objections? Seeing none, the credentialing report has been accepted. And
And then, may I make another motion?
yes, please.
Okay, because of recent anesthesia coverage issues at Bartlett Hospital, the Bartlett Regional Hospital Board recommends that the administration work with the medical staff to fast track the ability of certified nurse and anesthetist to deliver anesthesia care under a licensed independent practice delineation of privileges until a comprehensive long-term anesthesia collaborative model can be fully developed.
Do we have a second? Any discussion or? All right, is there any objection to the motion? Seeing none, the motion is approved. Anything else that we want to talk about? All right, I believe we are adjourned at, what time is it, 7:42.
I had to have an